My name is Travis Haworth. I work for Capitalize Analytics. We are a partner with Alteryx. We do a ton of work together, have a great relationship. I'm a manager in our Office of Finance Transformation practice, and really appreciate everybody's time today here. We've got a lot of good thoughts here. I'm joined with Russ Mills, Alteryx's field CFO. He joins us with over 30 years of finance transformation experience at Stanley Black & Decker and United Technologies. We're going to be passing it back and forth here, giving a couple of thoughts on finance transformation as well as Alteryx and the larger ecosystem. So Russ, do you mind starting off with an introduction?
Travis, thank you. And cheers to everybody. This was a lot of fun, and hang tight, folks. We have a lot of neat information to share with you. Travis and I are going to do this as an informal sort of fireside chat. And I'm Russ Mills. To introduce myself, I've been with Alteryx for 5 months now, and I came from Stanley Black & Decker. I spent 17 years across different parts of the finance organization at Stanley Black & Decker. My latest role before I came over to Alteryx was I was leading the analytics and business transformation for a $14 billion, with a B, $1 billion unit of Stanley Black & Decker, where most of you are familiar with the power tools and hand tools. So, everything you see at Home Depot, Lowe's, in other places, very recognizable. My role now is focused as field CFO in the field and working with customers that are at various levels of analytics maturity. Some are just starting out, some are more mature. In fact, the average company, based on a lot of collected data by third parties, on a scale of 1 to 5, the average company is a 2.2. So it tells us there's a lot of room for growth in analytics, scaling analytics, data-driven analytics inside of organizations. And Travis and I are going to focus our discussion on that today. And we're going to do a little back and forth, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. But very happy to be here. And I spend most of my days working out in the field with customers, sitting down with them, talking about how to get started, how to scale, how to drive value and align to organizational strategic initiatives. So that'll be the center point of the discussion today. Travis, back to you.
Yeah, so Russ, let's start there. You mentioned that you were leading the finance and digital transformation at Stanley Black & Decker. We kind of hear finance transformation, digital transformation, kind of buzzwords thrown around. What does that really mean to you? Drill into that a little bit for us.
Yeah, there's no shortage of buzzwords, as everybody knows. I was sitting with a CFO a few months ago, and it was a funny way to start the discussion. He said, right off the bat, he said, I don't like the term transformation. And it took me back for a minute because part of that is in my role. So, I heard him out, and his response made a lot of sense to me. And he said the reason why he doesn't like the word transformation is because it makes it sound like it's this one-time thing that we're going to do, and it's very time-bound, and there's a start and end to it. And to the contrary, I mean, he was exactly right. Transformation is not just a thing that you do 1 year and then you stop doing it. It's a muscle that you build, and it's meant to become an efficiency engine for your organization, and quite frankly, a growth engine. So I like to think about transformation as a jumpstart to organizations. In some cases, it could even be a shock to the organization. Again, depending on where the organization is, how mature they are with using data in getting started with analytics. But this whole concept of a jumpstart is, where you're really on a path to reshape your organization. If we zoom into the world of finance, our finance organizations, this is an area where we're automating processes, we're getting to deeper analytics, we're allowing the organization to start to see around corners, to do scenario modeling, and to do some of the deepest analytics we've ever done. So all tied to value, all measured back to the most important initiatives in the company. And, I think of this analytics work, this data and analytics work as a larger and larger enabler to organizational efficiency. We all know that data is becoming more and more, and in fact, most organizations underutilize the data or can't figure out how best to use all the data that they have at their, sometimes at their fingertips. Other times they have to go wrangle it and do a lot of gymnastics to work with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like to think of, finance transformation being able to be more efficient, to be able to do more with less, and really focused on business value, driving decision makers, giving them the ammo that they need to be able to make snap decisions rather than on gut and feel, have data-driven decisions. And the way that you get there is, real-time insight. So if all of our data is 6 weeks stale because it takes our team to cobble together from 5 or 6 different systems, clean up the data, and really get the impactful reporting, that really delays your ability for decision makers to be able to make those data-driven decisions. So I like to always think about why transformation is important, why optimization, why analytics are important. From my perspective, the other side of the coin is I'm a CPA, started my career in public accounting. And so doing some of those monotonous report building and analysis manually in Excel, was really why I gravitated towards Alteryx in the first place. So, we hear that people are leaving companies, they're retiring, it's hard to find new talent. There's less and less accounting and finance professionals graduating every year. It takes time to onboard and train. So what do you think about the benefits from an employee perspective around automation, analytics, and kind of finance transformation?
Yeah, Travis, thank you for that. That's really important. The people part of this is the part that, for all of us that work in finance, it's really where the rubber meets the road, right? We can have the most fancy technology, and if we don't understand how to bring things together, how to make our processes most efficient, the technology is not going to help us, and also how we work together. And, I like to think, I saw somebody posted in the chat here, so time consuming. So, as we think about our roles in finance, let's face it, we're being asked to do more and more, sometimes with less, or certainly most often with the same level of resource, but just more demand coming on us. And I like to think of analytics as a way to make our jobs not only more insightful and more valuable to the organization, as Travis and I commented on earlier, but more fun, quite honestly. I mean, who doesn't want to get upskilled in what they do? And, like Heather posted in the chat here, time consuming, we as finance people, if we're wrangling data and spending, 70% of our time trying to find the data, bring it together into Excel spreadsheets, very manual processes, and only 30% of the time on the fun stuff of doing the deeper analytics and offering that compass to the organization. I remember a few years back, I was speaking to somebody, president of a company, and he said, "Look, I look at the finance organization as my GPS," and I thought that was really, really interesting, because that's what we are, right? We see a lot of things that the rest of the organization doesn't get to see. We certainly have a different vantage point that we can offer to the organization. And so when we start thinking about doing not just closing the books, right? That's really important. That's foundational. But we think about as we provide that sense of direction to the organization, and we get better and sharper at our forecasts, and we start to use external data. And I mentioned earlier the concept of seeing around corners. That is super valuable, and let alone scenario analysis. You know, every company's been through a very tumultuous, volatile set of 3 years here, from the time COVID started, and supply chain constraints and all kinds of impacts that nobody could have imagined. And the organizations that are harnessing data and using it to be able to be more insightful and get to better root causes and truly drive value are the ones that are going to thrive in this environment. And I think volatility is actually here to stay. So I think it's just going to be varying levels of volatility and surprise and things we can't predict. And positioning your organization with the right analytics based on all the data that we have available will differentiate you as an employee and your company for sure versus the competition.
So that's very insightful there, Russ. And you know, when I talk to clients, they, especially for the first time, like quite a few of you folks, this may be your first or kind of introductory exposure to Alteryx. You know, I hear, hey, there's a lot of tools out there, right? My ERP does some stuff. My IT team says we've got some bots. They tell me to go use Power Query or maybe some VBA macros, right? Help differentiate and explain. I already used my analogy as Alteryx as a hand mixer, right? But where does Alteryx play in? How does it differentiate? How does it play together with some of these other tools? Where does it fit in the overall analytics and automation space?
Yeah, we get this question, Travis, a lot. In fact, most of the customers I meet with are curious about, hey, you know, I've got all these tool sets, and if I'm fairly new to Alteryx, I'm a little bit hesitant to bring in another tool because I've got, you know, 1,000 of them already in my stall. And what I like to say is we play with most of the tools that you might have in your organization. We play well with those tools, and we're complementary to a lot of them. Certainly there is opportunity to replace certain things or to consolidate as you ramp up with Alteryx. But if you think about, I'm going to stick with Travis's analogy here because I think it's a great one. The mixer and, you know, the analytics engine, easy to use, no code required, very easy to learn. The look and feel of it is very natural to anybody that does any sort of analysis. You certainly don't need to be a data scientist. You don't need to be a database programmer or anything like that. And when we think about, you know, one of the common tools that comes up in my discussions is, hey, I've got Tableau and I've got Power BI, and why do I need Alteryx? And, you know, I like to say that Alteryx is that engine, that analytics engine in the middle that allows you to bring data in from any source that you have. That could be, and sometimes flat files. In other cases, we're direct connecting to databases or other systems. So we have a whole slew of connectors and tools to do this work. And then the visualization is where typically a Power BI or a Tableau comes into play if you want to start to do some fancy visualizations upon the data that you've just brought in and transformed, and now you're ready to visually display it to yourself and to folks in the organization. that's one good example where to illustrate where Alteryx plays very well with some of the other popular tools. But the heavy lifting is typically done in a tool like Alteryx.
Yeah, and when I think of all my conversations with clients, really they all start at the same piece. It's I have so many Excel processes and my financial data sets are getting bigger and bigger, and my company is acquiring more companies and they have their own ERPs. And so now I've got, instead of 3 source tabs, now I've got 5 or 10, and I'm trying to do VLOOKUPs and pivot tables and, for, what happens if somebody gets sick or they get married at a quarter end or a month end. I don't have any process documentation, so we're scrambling around trying to figure out how to repeat the same process that we've done every month, because a lot of the knowledge is stuck in just a few people. And so really when I'm talking to clients, they're telling me, I can't keep doing the same thing because it's inefficient, it's burning people out, and most importantly, it's impossible to review a 50-page Excel spreadsheet. So how do I know that the information that I'm providing out is accurate? How am I able to trust the opinions and the guidance that my finance teams are providing to leadership if they can't even confirm that their workbooks are working effectively because they're so massive and complex? So those are the types of challenges that I see clients start with. And then really to Russ's point, the world is your oyster. Alteryx has great automation functionality, but it really has an advanced analytics suite as well. And those play really well together as you start thinking about, how do I set up my teams to be efficient? So accounting is focused on closing the books and providing financial metrics. FP&A might want to bolt on top and do some specific KPI analysis. And you can see tax is going to base off accounting, audit's going to base off accounting, tax, and finance. And so really having that one platform, that's where we try to get our clients to, because there's so many options that we all have out in the market. Really having a centralized data focused solution is really where we can find the synergies and start solving some of those data challenges. Are those pretty relevant to the conversations that you have? Anything else top of mind that you see Alteryx assisting finance teams with?
I think those are very relevant, Travis. And, one thing I'll mention to the group here is, as I said, I came from 17 years at Stanley Black & Decker, and we actually about 4 or 5 years ago launched a program, an internal strategy that we communicated externally about creating $1 billion of incremental value to the company. And I will tell you that without a tool like Alteryx, which we were actually customers of, which is what kind of turned me on to Alteryx when I came over this past fall, without a tool like that as an enabler to really get under the hood on the data sets and use that to make smart decisions and drive this kind of value, $1 billion of value over a multi-year period, doing things like bringing in external data, 80 different data sets that might correlate to demand forecasting. And you might know that, if you can add a few points of accuracy to your demand forecast, it goes a very long way in terms of cycling your manufacturing plants. Stanley Black & Decker is a manufacturing company that holds inventory. So, the better you can get with forecasting, even by a few points at a time, goes a long way in terms of cash flow. So that was one thing we were doing. Another thing, sharpened pricing, understanding what the commodity prices are doing externally, what we were paying for commodities, bringing all that data together at a product level and then using that to inform sharper pricing strategies, more informed pricing strategies. So, think of Alteryx as certainly a time savings, creating capacity in your organization, because you get to automate a whole bunch of manual processes and really change the way you're doing those, going from literally days and weeks down to minutes. We hear those successes all the time, days and weeks down to minutes. Alteryx changed my life. My job is so enriched now. These are the typical things that we're hearing from people that are using the solution.
Yeah, and I think that's a great place to end it. We talked a lot about automation. We talked a lot about analytics. We talked about bringing in multiple data sources, eliminating manual processes, consolidating and making easier processes around these complex Excel workbooks. But with our limited time frame, we didn't have a ton of time to dive into specific use cases and how it will exactly work for you. And so we'll leave it with this offer. Anybody who is new to Alteryx and wants to see more, they think they have a process that they want to get automated, reach out to Russ or myself. Send us over a little description of what your use case is. We'll reach out to you. We'll understand, source data, build out the automation or the analytic for you, and then we'll report back to the larger group. So the first 3 people that reach out, we'll do it free of charge, get a process knocked out for you. We'll report back to the group to discuss what that looked like, what the implications were, what the value was, and we'll go from there. If you don't happen to be quick on the keyboard and you're not the first 3 people, feel free, we'll reach back out to you. We'll set up some time to talk about what Alteryx could look like in your environment. But that's the offer. We do this all day, every day, ton of opportunities. So really appreciate everybody's time today. Russ, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, first of all, I'd say do not miss this opportunity. You heard it from Travis, free for the first 3 people. The team will get in there. I don't think you'll stump the team. It'd be very hard to throw something at this group that they haven't seen before and they can't tackle. So please take advantage of that offer, number 1. Number 2, I want to thank everybody for being part of this. When I first heard about this event, I got really excited because it's such a creative way to engage folks in something that is really meaningful for every company. So I hope you all had a great time. I certainly enjoyed it. I still have a little bit of my champagne left, but thanks again. And we hope that everyone on here will take what you heard back within your company, reach out to us, whether you're the first 3 or not, and let's get going. We can do a lot of great things together.
Appreciate it, everybody.
Thank you.